In this video, I'm going to be setting up a Google Ads campaign completely from scratch, covering everything A to Z, start to finish, meaning the ad groups, the ad copy, the keywords, conversion tracking, and even walking you guys through some account settings, some campaign settings, and some tips and tricks for just honestly setting up these campaigns in your account for success. If this is your first time running Google Ads or your 50th time setting up a Google Ads campaign, I guarantee you will at least learn something from this. And if not, well, thank goodness this is free, right? So let's go ahead and dive in and get started. First things first, make sure you are at the campaign dashboard here. Now, we're gonna go ahead and click this blue plus button here to create our first campaign. We're gonna go ahead and select new campaign. Now, just to kind of set the stage and preface, I'm going to be setting up a campaign pretending I'm a landscaping company, all right? Obviously, it's applicable to whatever you're doing, so no matter what you're setting up a campaign for or what you are, I'm going to be in this example doing lead gen for a landscaping company based over where I am in Arizona. So just kind of keep that in mind and follow along. But let's get started. All right, so first thing, Google's going to say, what is your campaign objective? We're going to go ahead and just say without a goal guidance. We don't need any of this. All this does is basically tell Google support and Google's AI recommendations what we need, right? So if we tell it sales or leads, Google support and the algorithm knows that it should recommend us stuff relevant to that. But we don't care about that. They're not really any use or help to us. So we're going to go ahead and create a campaign without a goal guidance. Next, as we scroll down, it's going to have us select our campaign type. So in this video, I am walking you through a search campaign for lead gen, and probably 90% of you are going to be wanting to set up a search campaign. I'm not going to cover these other campaigns or get into what they are. So for the sake of this video, let's just go ahead and continue and set up a search campaign. Now, when we scroll down, it's going to ask us to basically put in our website and our phone number since it's assuming we want lead gen. So we're going to go ahead and select both of these. Now, I'm going to put in my agency's website just to kind of keep things simple because I don't actually have a landscaping company, believe it or not. So I'll just put in my agency's website, and then for a phone number, I'm just going to put in a fake one, just something random for now, because it really doesn't matter to me. Obviously, make sure you get the country code and everything right, and then click continue. Now, as we scroll down further, it's going to ask us what goal we want to focus on. You likely don't have any conversion goals set up in this account, and I don't either. So I'm just going to skip right past this because we're going to set up conversion goals later. Go ahead and give this a name. You can name it whatever you want. Typically, I have a structure I use, so I'll name it search campaign, I'll name it landscaping, and then I'll name it Scottsdale or wherever. But campaign name, not important. Go ahead and click continue once you're done. Oh, all right, so it's gonna make us select a goal. Let's just go ahead and click form submissions, and we can just skip over that for now. But like I said, campaign goal, this doesn't matter. We're gonna be setting up our own conversion goals later. We can just go ahead and skip over, click continue. And then we can start with the next step. It's gonna walk us through basically a campaign setup process, which I don't typically use. I like to skip right into the action of it, but we're gonna have to set up this initial part, so bear with me. All right, so bidding strategy. What bidding strategy should we launch this campaign with? You absolutely, 99% of the time, need to launch with maximize clicks. The 1% of you that are watching this video that aren't going to be using maximize clicks may use something like maximize conversions or maximize conversion value, and that's likely because you're either experienced or you already have sufficient conversion data in your account or the campaign in general, right? But for 99% of you, this is probably your first time or you're creating a new campaign from scratch and you're learning from this video. So we're going to want to use maximize clicks. Maximize clicks is basically telling Google that your job is to generate as many clicks as possible, right? You may be thinking, well, Brandon, why wouldn't I run maximize conversions? I want conversions. I want phone calls. I want form fills. I get that, but you got to think about it. Google's an algorithm. Believe it or not, it may be smarter than you. It knows exactly what it's doing. So when we tell it maximize conversions, it should be able to read our account data and know what we consider a conversion. Well, in this sake of this video, I don't even have conversion goals set up. I don't have conversion data. So Google has no idea what a conversion is and who a conversion is to me. Google doesn't know what a lead is to me. So it has no way to optimize for conversions. You see what I mean? Whereas maximize clicks, it doesn't require any prior data. We can launch maximize clicks out the gate. So that's what we're gonna be using to start. We have to use maximize clicks, or if you're a little bit more advanced, you could do something called manual CPC, which I'm not gonna cover in this video. manual CPC is similar to maximize clicks. It just gives you a lot more control. With maximize clicks though, we're actually letting the algorithm do a lot of the bidding. However, even though we are giving Google a lot of control here, we're going to set a maximum cost per click bid limit. Now what this is it's essentially telling Google that we do not want to bid more than a certain amount. If you use maximize clicks without this, some keywords may be $6 per click. Some days you might pay $55 per click and have your budget gone in a second. So we want to be wise. Later, I will touch on how you can actually calculate what your maximum bid limit should be. But just for reference for now, I'm just going to set it at something like $10. Basically telling Google, hey, look, I do not want to pay more than $10 per click. Now that we've set maximize clicks and you've set a bid limit, which we can change later, so don't worry, go ahead and skip to the next part. We do not need to do anything here. All right, now this is super important, so pay attention here. These two networks that are recommended by Google and automatically selected, turn off. Never run these networks. These basically allow your ads to show on other networks, as it explains here, right? Hundreds of non-Google websites, park domains, and other things. Even YouTube and apps and stuff, but if you're a local service lead gen company, you really have to think, do you want your ads showing on non-Google websites, fake domains that aren't active websites, YouTube, and all these random things? Trust me, you don't. When you have these two enabled, you're gonna waste 80% of your budget on either zero leads or waste 80% of your budget on spam leads that are from other countries across the world. It's just basically like a spam attack, okay? Just stay away from it and uncheck both of these. Now for location targeting, obviously you're gonna go ahead and select where you wanna target. So we're gonna click enter another location, and then we're gonna go ahead and click advanced search. Now with Google, you can target postal codes, countries, states, cities, mile radius. You can target whatever. So for me, I'm in Scottsdale. I can type in Scottsdale, and then I can target the city of Scottsdale, Arizona. And you can see in blue, it's gonna show me where I'm targeting. Well, that's not exactly where I wanna target. I actually kinda wanna hit this more central area, which is where most I do business, right? Again, I'm pretending I'm a landscaper. So I'm gonna want to actually manually select this. So I'm gonna remove this, and then I'm going to go ahead and click this little trigger icon, and now I can manually select areas. I'm gonna filter it down to only choose postal codes, and now I can actually select on a more granular level the specific postal codes I wanna target. So I'm gonna go ahead and tell Google that I want to target all of these areas in blue, right? So you can see I'm getting really specific. And then as I drag or zoom in and out, other areas become available. You can see if it's light gray like this, it's basically telling me, hey, you can choose me and, include me or exclude me. So I'm going to include all the areas that, my landscaping company targets. And then maybe that's it, right? Maybe that's kind of the extent of where I target. I can now unselect it, zoom out, and I can see where I target. I can also see the specific postal codes I've selected here on the left side. Maybe you don't want to do that way. Maybe you want to do a radius targeting, right? So I can go ahead and select radius. I can say I want to serve a 15-mile radius, perhaps around Mesa, Arizona. So I can type in Mesa, then I can click include, and now you can see that radius just popped up. If you made a mistake, you can just scroll down, find what you just added, and click that X, right? There are also location exclusions we can add. We'll touch on that later. But for now, we're gonna go ahead and save this. We're not done yet though with location targeting. Go ahead and expand the options here where it says location options. Scroll down and make sure you are only selecting presence. So you can see here by default, presence or interest is selected. And this makes your ads eligible to people who have shown interest in your locations. Meaning my ads will be eligible to people who have shown interest in Mesa or Tempe or Scottsdale. Perhaps they booked a flight, they're looking at hotels, or they've just been searching it lately. Or they're just visiting. They could just be traveling, right? We don't want that. We want to only target people who are physically in our location, right? Residences of Mesa, Tempe, Scottsdale. So make sure you select presence only. Scrolling down more, languages, you probably don't need to touch this. I'm sure the default language that is on your account will work fine. Obviously English is what I want, so we'll go ahead and leave that as is. Nothing to do there. Audience segments, we're not going to do anything here. We're just going to go ahead and ignore it. We don't need to touch this. Now for broad match keywords, you want to ensure it's set to off. So by default, mine's already set to off. Just make sure yours is set to off as well. We'll cover keywords here shortly. Let's go ahead and expand this by clicking more settings. Just want to kind of skim through these. Nothing we need to change here. We can adjust the ad schedule. I definitely recommend that, especially if you're on a lower budget. You can change your ad schedule now or later. We can go ahead and adjust it now. So we'll click this pencil icon and we can get pretty specific with how we want to target. We can do all days, Monday through Fridays, or specific days. We can also make it so we are only varying our location or our time of hours on certain days. So for this example, let's pretend I want to run my ads Monday through Friday, and I want to run them between 6 a.m. to midnight. Now ignore these little black bars on my screen. Yours won't look like this. Mine's just kind of glitched out. And it's also, I think, in military time. But we'll go ahead and run my ads 6 a.m. to midnight. But I'm closed on Sundays, so I'm gonna wanna add in Saturday, but I'm not going to add in Sunday. See what I'm doing there? So I'm gonna go ahead and select the same time. I'll run my ads 6 a.m. to midnight, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to midnight on Saturday. And then I will also not run my ads on Sunday because Sunday's not selected. Once you're done, go ahead and click next. Now, with that website URL you provided Google earlier, it's gonna ask if it wants to generate, keywords and ad copy for you. You can use this. I don't use it typically, but for the sake of this video, I'm just gonna try to move things along. So I'll probably let it. But obviously this isn't a landscaping website, so if I go ahead and click generate, it's going to generate stuff about running ads and Google ads, which has no relevancy to landscaping. So I'm going to go ahead and skip it. But honestly, this isn't a bad tool. You could put in your website and then you could explain what you do, right? I am a landscaping company based in Scottsdale, Arizona. We do leaf removal, we do irrigation, pergola building, blah, 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 50 years in business. And click generate, and it'll actually spew out some decent ad copy, some decent keywords. It's a good tool to kind of get, like a start. So you can go ahead and utilize it, but I'm gonna go ahead and click skip now. All right, so now you're gonna be in this point where you're actually creating your first ad group and ad. So we can go ahead and name it. But before we proceed, just keep in mind two things. One, we're only gonna create one ad group for now within this quick setup, because once we finalize this, we're gonna go back and add in a bunch more. Two, we need to first look at the hierarchy of how ad groups are built. I'm not gonna spend too much time on this, but here's a diagram breaking down the ideal structure for a campaign. I build campaigns around what is called search intent, and you should do the same. So within a campaign, you can have multiple ad groups, right? You can have as many as you want. Within each ad group, you have a set of keywords and an ad that goes to a landing page, right? Now, what does search intent mean? How do I know how many ad groups I should have and all that sort of thing? Well, you want to have an ad group for every different search intent or every different service, right? Kind of a little bit of both. So let's go ahead and look at this example over here. This is an example for a roofer. If you're a roofing company, you would have one campaign, maybe encompassing everything roofing. Within that ad group, we would have several different ad groups broken up by search intent. So one search intent, meaning, the intent behind someone's search on Google, would be roof repair. Within the roof repair ad group, we would have keywords like roof repair, leaky roof, repair my roof near me, that sort of thing. And then the ad itself would correlate to roof repair. So some of the ad copy may say Arizona top roof repair. Get your roof repaired now. Free 21-point inspection. Our ad would not say metal roofing. Hiring now, right? We wouldn't say stuff like that. We're not going to talk about flat roofing or metal roofing. No. This is a roof repair ad group. And then the ad itself would go to a roof repair page ideally, right? Obviously, if someone clicks an ad for roof repair and they get sent to a landing page about metal roofing or asphalt roofing, they're probably not going to convert because it's not what they're looking for. Same thing here. This one's specific to flat roofing. We have flat roofing specific keywords and flat roofing ad copy. Whereas this ad group, a little different, but still similar, is just generic, meaning there really is no specific intent. They're just searching for generic terms like roofing near me, roofing contractors, roofers near me. So we kind of house it in a more generic ad group, but we're still maintaining that control. We'll hop back over to the Google Ads platform in a second, but here's one last example. So this was a search I did for roof repair in my area. Notice how this person's ad copy is straight to the point. It's calling out exactly what I'm looking for. Fix your roof leak repair. Roof repair you can trust. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Notice how it doesn't say metal roofing or get a new roof today, which is not what I'm looking for. And then when I click that ad, it actually takes me to a really good website. And they have a landing page specific to roof repair. See how it says the most trusted roof repair team for Arizona homes? It's calling out the exact service I'm looking for, roof repair, and that I'm based in Arizona. That is exactly how it should be done. Notice how it didn't take me to a website or a landing page about metal roofing, which would not match my search intent. That's the keyword here. Let's hop back and set up our first ad group. So what's our first ad group going to be? For me, I'll go ahead and do leaf removal, which is going to be one of the services I would offer as a landscaper. We'll go ahead and name it leaf removal, and we can just ignore these or leave it blank. We can kind of utilize this tool if we want to find keywords, but I'm going to show you how I find keywords. We'll touch on this setting here in a few, but the best way to find keywords is through the Google Keyword Planner tool, which we're not able to access within this current setup guide. So for now, we're just going to go ahead and kind of use our brain, and we can even use this keyword suggestion. So let's go back to this setup here, and we can give Google some idea, right? So I am a leaf removal. That's all we got to say. Leaf removal, maybe leaf cleanup. Again, this is just specific to this one ad group. So we'll let Google do some keyword suggestions for us, and boom, look at that. That's perfect. Now I can, kind of get nitpick. I can get greedy and delete some of these. Best way to leaf cleanup. I'm going to delete best way because to me that sounds like people who are looking to do it themselves. And then I'm going to add in a couple variations like leaf cleanup company, leaf removal company, and maybe a variation like leaf removal near me. Cool. We got some keywords, and that was really easy, right? You just put in your service or your product, and Google kind of spits out some ideas, and then you can kind of get some brainstorming and see what other people do. Maybe look up some keywords online, or we'll use this tool here shortly, which we'll get into, but we're not done. So all of these keywords right now are considered broad match, and you can see how we know that right here. Because there's nothing around the keyword, they're just plain words, it's considered broad match. We want to utilize phrase match and exact match keywords only. We do not want to use broad match ever. I'm not going to dive into it hugely in this video, but broad match basically makes it so your ads are eligible to serve for anything Google considers relating to this. So if we had the broad match keyword like leaf cleanup, our ads could show for something like how to start a leaf removal business, leaf removal products on Amazon, right? Stuff like that we just don't want. So I like to use phrase and exact match, which is what I would consider higher intent. Now what I want to do, I want to take the keywords we just got and put them in this tool called Keyword Wrap. It's just called keywordwrap.com. It just makes it a lot easier. So I'm going to go ahead and copy all the keywords I have for this one ad group, go to keywordwrap.com, paste them, and then wrap them. And all it does is it just does the fancy job of doing this. So for me, I'm just going to use phrase match. You can use a bit of both. We could do phrase and exact match only, or only phrase. For this example, I'll use phrase match. I'll click select to copy. I'll copy those keywords, and then we can go back and I can just kind of paste over, and then boom. Now all of our keywords are in phrase match. If I wanted to make one of these or a few of these exact match, I can remove the quotations and I can add the brackets, right? See what I'm doing here? So now we have a mix of phrase match and exact match. It's totally okay to mix match types and ad groups. As you get more complex and advanced, some people like to kind of separate it out and stuff, but that's another story for this. This is totally fine though. So got a couple phrase match keywords, got a couple exact match keywords in there, but the important part is they are all relevant to leaf removal, right? There's nothing like generic landscaping terms in here or irrigation or pergola building. No, just leaf removal. So we can go ahead and scroll down now that we're happy with our keywords, and we can add in some ad copy, right? Most of this we'll touch on later and get a little more advanced, but for now we can go ahead and kind of spit out some good examples. Obviously the final URL is going to be your website. If you have a specific landing page or service page, if you had a specific landing page, you could definitely paste that here, right? So maybe for me, my landing page would be leaf removal. That's what you would want to do. So I wouldn't want to send traffic to my home page if I have a specific page that covers the service I'm providing, right? So obviously it makes sense for me to send traffic to my leaf removal page. So you would just paste here whatever your website or landing page URL is. We can go ahead and move on to the next one. Display path. We can skip over this. This basically just adds in some words here. So we could say leaf removal. This doesn't actually affect the final URL. So I could say anything I want here, right? Like save 10% off, right? I can say anything I want here, and it's not going to actually adjust the final URL. This is just kind of what I like to consider cosmetic, right? But Not really a big deal. I would say just skip it for now. Lead forms. We're actually not going to be covering or setting up lead forms. I rarely ever use them. I like to send traffic to the website, which has a form on it. So let's just ignore that and skip. Now we'll have our headlines, right? Super, super important. You can see Google already populated a couple for me based on what we provided. These are not relevant to me though. So we're gonna go ahead and get creative and come up with some. So how do you come up with ad copy? There's a couple different ways, but really don't overcomplicate it. Just think, just use your brain, right? I mean, what would you search when you're looking at leaf removal? What kind of headlines would you want to say? Obviously you want your ad copy to be relevant to what people are searching. So I like to think of it like location plus service, benefit, why choose us, what makes us stand out, and obviously get a little bit more creative. So first thing we can do here is let's just use our brain. Let's just come up with some generic ad copy we can utilize, like Scottsdale leaf removal. Pretty easy, right? What else could I say? Leaf cleanup in Scottsdale. Or maybe just leaf cleanup, top rated leaf cleanup. We could say something like 50 plus reviews or whatever. You know, that's a good reason why someone would choose us. We have 50 plus reviews. Maybe something like pricing starting at $39.99. Maybe not the best idea, but there's definitely a lot of different variations you can do here. But let's dive a little deeper. Maybe you're not feeling super creative. I know I'm not really the best at creative ad copy, so let's Google what other people are doing. Super simple, just went into Google and typed in leaf removal near me, and we can look at other people's ads that they're running and see what ad copy they're doing. So Higher Ground Landscape, this would be the name of their company. You can use your company name in your ad copy. That's totally fine. Landscape maintenance services, that makes sense to me. People looking for leaf cleanup are probably also looking for landscape maintenance. So I can go ahead and put that one in there. Make sure that it's just correct. Some other ones, number one, fall cleanup service, call now for a free quote. I really like both of those. Those are really good. So I'm actually gonna go ahead and paste both of those in there. You can see I'm just kind of dropping them in. Obviously guys, go ahead and adjust it. Like, don't just copy everything you see. You gotta be original, but a lot of the time, a lot of these generic ad copies like this, you'll see those used a lot. Now, we got some good ad copy in here, but let's get a little more creative. So maybe we look at some other people's stuff. Maybe I type in leaf cleanup service instead. Here's some other good ones. Call now for a free quote. Number one, fall cleanups. Those are good, but we got some stuff that's pretty similar to this. So let's go ahead and try out using ChatGPT to get some more generic or more creative ad copy, I mean. All right, so inside ChatGPT now, or whatever AI you use, just go ahead and keep it simple. Just tell ChatGPT exactly what you're looking for. I'm setting up a Google Ads campaign for my what company? My landscaping company. What ad group am I working on? Leaf cleanup, leaf removal. I'm based in Scottsdale and serve the surrounding areas. And I just need some creative and unique ad copy. And then I also said maybe some generic headlines as well. And I made sure to make it clear that the headlines cannot be more than 30 characters. And let's just kind of see what it spits out. Honestly, probably a lot better stuff than I have ever come up with sometimes. That's just the reality of it. Scottsdale leaf experts, fall leaves will handle it. See, these are actually really good. And why are they so good? It's because no one else is using them. Everyone else is using all these generic headlines that I already have, right? And they're fine headlines to use, but you have to get creative, especially on Google Ads when you're running a service like this, right? When there's just so many other landscaping companies, so many other roofing companies, so many other solar companies, whatever it may be, there is so much competition, you need to stand out, and that is your ad copy's first job, right? The first line of defense is your ad copy. That's how you get that person to click. So we need them to click through with creative ad copy. So let's go ahead and steal some guys from here. Seasonal lawn services, leaf removal services, right? There's a lot of really good ones now. Scottsdale leaf experts. We could spend all day here just kind of going through ChatGPT, looking at other ad copies, but I think we have some good ones, right? We have some generic ones we came up with and found online. We have some ones that ChatGPT came up with, and we can even see or preview what some of our ads may look like here on mobile and on desktop. Now this up here, go ahead and ignore this. The ad strength doesn't actually affect anything. You could have a poor ad rating and it really does not matter. That's just like Google's AI making recommendations. We're not done yet though. We have to go ahead and handle our descriptions now, right? Luckily for us, it works the exact same way. Brainstorm, see what others are doing, or just ask ChatGPT. Let's do the same now, but let's ask it for descriptions, and make sure you tell it that it has to be under 60 characters so it knows. And just like that, super easy, took no time at all to get some quality descriptions. I'll go ahead and put a couple of these in there. Now, in terms of how many descriptions, how many headlines do you need, really isn't a huge deal. For descriptions, you may as well do 4. You can only do 4, so do 4. With headlines, I actually would say less is more. Google lets you do up to 15 headlines, but that's just kind of overkill. You need to know what works and what doesn't work, and that's where split testing comes in, where you can run 2 ads or 3 ads in one ad group with all different headlines. So typically, I like to keep my headlines less than 7. Even that sometimes can be too much, but honestly, again, less is more. You can always test, and you want to know what works best. But for this example, just go ahead and do it. How many? I mean, obviously, probably more than 3, but for me, I did 10, then I'll have 4 descriptions. These were all pulled from ChatGPT, so super easy. Business name and logo, you'll be able to add that later. You have to verify your account though, so I can't do that now. Site links and all these other assets you see here, site links, callouts, promotions, structured snippets, and prices. We'll cover those later. I don't like to set them up here in this setup guide, so we'll go ahead and do that once we publish our campaign. Now that we've selected our ad copy, our descriptions, our URL, and click done, we've now successfully created our first ad group, right? So we have leaf removal, keywords, and an ad. We can go ahead and click next. Now Google wants to know how much we want to spend per day. There really isn't a super, big rule of thumb here in terms of what to spend. Obviously, it's going to vary based on a mix of what you're comfortable spending and how much you should spend in your niche, which I'm not going to get into in this video, but you should be able to source the average cost per click for your keywords, your services, or whatever it is you're advertising, and multiply that by maybe 8 or 10, or how many clicks you aim to get per day, and that's your monthly budget. So right here, Google does kind of help with that a little bit. It's telling me on average, I'm looking at $3 per click. Well, if I want 10 clicks per day on my ads, I know I need to spend around $30 per day. So I'm gonna go ahead and set a custom budget then of maybe $35 per day. Of course though, you can only spend what you're comfortable spending, but you have to be reasonable. If my average cost per click is $3 and I can only spend $5 per day on my campaign, I probably should not be running Google Ads because I'm not going to see results, right? Be reasonable, be logical. Go ahead and click next, and then we can kind of review everything. Google will tell us if there were any issues or anything we need to correct or fix. We can just scroll down here, make sure everything looks good, and then we're going to publish the campaign. All right, so now we'll be redirected back into the campaign or the dashboard, and your campaign may actually be live right now. So we don't want it live because we're not done. We're just getting started really. We're gonna go ahead and hover over the green light that indicates it's currently enabled and just click pause. Now our campaign's off and we can go ahead and actually make further changes to it. So let's go back to the All Campaigns tab. You may be freaking out because you don't see your campaign here, but that's okay. That's because you have things filtered down. Right here, we can change our campaign status from enabled to enabled and pause, which is basically saying, hey, open up the filter so I can see everything, right? Once you do that, you want to go ahead and find your campaign. I'm going to go ahead and select the campaign now. We can go ahead and click on it and we can move forward with kind of setting up the remaining parts of it. Whether that be the settings, the ad groups, the keywords, whatever it may be, right? Probably going to have a lot more ad groups you want to create. So let's go ahead and do that and dive deeper into what I was talking about before, which is breaking down how you can find keywords. So let's go ahead and open the keyword planner, which can be found under Tools, Planning, and then select Keyword Planner. I already have mine open here, so let's go ahead and launch that. We're going to go ahead and select Discover New Keywords. Now, I recommend you open up a Google Sheet or something like this so that you can easily kind of populate it and keep your thoughts organized. Inside of the Keyword Planner tool, make sure you change the location to where you're advertising. So I'm advertising in Arizona, but really the greater Maricopa area, which is the name of the county. I'll go ahead and include that and click Save. That way Google knows when I'm giving it data or I'm giving it keywords I want to use, it knows to reference the competition and the average cost per click in Maricopa or wherever you're based, wherever you're advertising. Now for this next ad group, you're going to want to first figure out what is the ad group. So for me, I already have a leaf removal ad group. What else makes sense for me to run as a landscaping company? Maybe I also do pergola installation, pergola building, that sort of thing. So that's gonna be my next ad group. So I'll go ahead and hop into my Excel sheet here and I'm gonna type in the name of my ad group, pergola, because I know that this area down here is going to be relevant to pergolas. And let's go ahead and type in a couple search themes or ideas, right? So we're basically going to tell Google to base our keyword generation around this. So pergola builders, pergola contractors, pergola installation, Arizona pergola builders, right? Just a couple broad ideas and themes, and then we'll click get results. Now Google's going to spit out a bunch of keywords, and it's going to show you some pretty important stuff. It's going to show you obviously the keywords you provided, but it's also going to recommend you other keywords, right? Look at this, 146 keywords it recommended me. We don't have to use all of these, don't worry. We don't need to go insane here, right? But this is a lot of stuff. This is gold. In addition to that, it's going to show me the average monthly search volume, which I can go ahead and filter by. So I can tell Google to show me the keyword with the most volume. It's going to show me some other data, which I don't need to worry about, but it will also show me the cost per click. So I can know, is this reasonable? Now in this example, I'm spending $35 a day, and some of these keywords are upwards of $18 or $27 per click. That may not be reasonable with my budget because I'm looking to spend $35 a day, and $18 is, well, that's half of my budget. But for this example, that's fine. It does range though. It's basically saying that depending on the position of your ad, you may pay between $5 to $18 per click, right? But again, this is just an example, and a lot of these keywords aren't going to cost that much, right? That is a little bit more on the extreme side. And so for the sake of this, let's continue. I'm going to go ahead and pick out some keywords that look good to me, and I'm just going to do the exact same thing we did earlier. I'm going to copy them. I'm going to drop them into an Excel sheet here and just kind of go through it and do that. And I'll pause right now. I'll get around 10, 20 keywords and come back to you. All right, I got a couple more keywords for pergola. Again, you don't need to go crazy. Just because Google recommended you a couple hundred keywords doesn't mean you need them all. Just take probably the most important keywords or those that have the medium to higher search volume. Obviously, Google's smart and it knows to match your keywords with other stuff, right? So if you have pergola contractors, Google probably knows you also want to appear for pergola contractors near me or Phoenix pergola contractors. So that's kind of why you don't need to go crazy and keyword obsessive, but you still want to have a bulk majority to kind of cover the overall close match variant, we call it, or the search intent. So everything in this ad group is going to be pergola related. Now, while you're in this keyword tool or keyword planner, go ahead and figure out the keywords for your other ad group, right? So maybe my next one is going to be something like lawn care. And then after that, it's going to be generic. So just like landscaping or landscapers, right? Go ahead and do that now. Go ahead and pause and take a look at all the keywords. Go back to your keyword planner and type in the next set. So for my next batch of ad groups, I would go ahead and type in lawn care, right? Or lawn care near me, mow my lawn, right? Stuff like that. And then click get results and just rinse and repeat this for how many ad groups you need to or want to create. I'll go ahead and pause now and switch back over to the main thing, and we can go ahead and set up these new ad groups, but take a couple minutes, 10, 15, 20 minutes, however long, creating your ad groups and expanding your Google Sheet. In terms of how many ad groups you need, really don't be concerned about that. Like I said, don't go keyword crazy, don't go ad group crazy. You don't need 50 ad groups. Just kind of cover a few different search intent specific services or related themes, and then let's go ahead and proceed. All right, now we're back at our campaign dashboard where we're going to set up a second ad group. Let's go ahead and click this blue plus button, and we're going to create a new ad group from scratch. We can go ahead and reference our Excel sheet, and this one is going to be for pergolas. So I will name it pergola. We can name it pergola installer, pergola builder, doesn't really matter. Go back to the sheet and we're going to do what we did earlier. We're going to copy these keywords and we're going to put them in that keyword wrapper tool. Go ahead and delete what's already in there. Paste it, wrap those keywords, and for this one we can do whatever. Maybe I'll do all exact match for this one, keep it a little bit higher intent. Again, as long as you're utilizing phrase or exact match, I wouldn't worry, just don't use broad. Make sure this is set to standard. We do not want to use dynamic. You never want to have a dynamic ad group, only standard. Go ahead and click save and continue, and then we're going to do again the exact same thing we did for the last one. We're going to set up the ad copy. So for final URL, maybe I send traffic to my pergola page, which is pergola builders, right? Or if I don't have one, maybe I'm just sending traffic to my homepage, which probably wouldn't be recommended. But same thing here, just go through this and set up some ad copy. So I'll set up some ad copy for pergola building using ChatGPT, some competitors, and just kind of thinking on my own. Pause this and get back to you. Do the same thing. And then once you're done, you hit save and continue, and you'll be taken again back to this screen where your ad group will go under pending. That's totally normal. It just says that. Go ahead and rinse and repeat. Create as many new ad groups as you need to. I'm assuming you guys probably have a couple different ad groups, services that you're setting up. So for me, I would be creating additional ad groups for lawn care and then landscaping and anything else I set up. But because this is a tutorial, I'm not going to go crazy here and set up a bunch of ad groups, but take the time, pause this video if you want, go ahead and set up yours. We'll move on to the next part. We are about 80% complete here, I would say, and probably almost ready to launch, but there's still a lot more we want to review and cover just to make sure we're ready to go live. All right, so let's recap. We have our campaign set up, right? Within our campaign, we have our ad groups. Within our ad groups, we have our keywords. And then within our keywords, or within our ad group, we have our ad copy. Maybe you have a couple different ads, maybe you just have the one ad, whatever it is. This looks good, right? Next step is assets and extensions. Let's go back to the campaign level, that's what it's called, and click this tab here that says assets. And click it again. Now this is where we want to create and include assets and extensions to our campaign, right? So there is a lot here, but I promise you probably won't use all of them, and they're also really not that overwhelming. I'll run through each one by one, kind of telling you what they are, what they do, and if you should use them. And as far as setting them up, it's as simple as just clicking that blue plus button on each category, and it will walk you through the setup. Business name and business logo, absolutely recommend. Your account must be verified, which is another story, but you'll probably get an email from Google about that later. But once your account is verified, you can add a business name and a business logo, which is really nice. And I can kind of show you what that looks like here. Right here would be your business logo. They don't have one, but if they did, it would show there. And the business name would populate right there. So their business name is Divine Design Landscaping. Again, highly recommend you have that, as it does make your ad pop. Next is a site link. These are crucial. These show up under your ads. Now, these people don't have one here, so let's see if we can find one. Here's some decent examples. So I searched landscapers near me, and we can see there's some hyperlinks here under their ad, which take us to other parts of their website, but also kind of acts as additional ad copy calling out specific services or resources, right? So these are site links. They're hyperlinks that goes to other pages or landing pages. We can go ahead and click the blue plus button to create some. You should have a minimum of 4 site links. So again, just kind of think of it as like extra ad copy. Maybe you do something like 50 reviews or 50 plus reviews, and you can link that to some testimonials on your website. Or maybe you do it like browse recent projects, and then you can link that to your projects page or your gallery page, so people can kind of get a look for what you do, right? If I do pergolas, I'm probably going to say see recent builds, and I can show people the gallery of recent pergolas we've built. Or maybe you just want to send someone to a specific service page like pergolas, right? So obviously they would send them to a pergola page. Or just want to get straight to the point and say, book your appointment. And you send them to the contact page or the appointment booking page. That's really all these are. They're just additional ad copies that allow you to add hyperlinks. And then you would of course add a description, a second description, and then the final URL, which is just the page you're sending traffic to. Ensure that you're sending traffic to the same page consistently throughout your campaign, meaning don't use a different domain. You can use different pages on your domain, just don't send someone to an entirely different website, right? You don't want to do that. Headline and description, we can skip over. These are basically just campaign level ad copy. Don't worry about that. We already did set up ads, right? Go to the next one, call outs. These are great. I definitely recommend setting up at least 4. Maybe like 4 to 8 if you want. These are, again, just kind of extra ad copy. You could say free quotes, 50 years experience, get your quote now, pergolas, builders, wherever I service, stuff like that. It's just kind of additional stuffy ad copy. The good thing about all these assets and extensions is they take up more real estate in the Google search engine. For example, this guy here, they have a call extension. This person doesn't. Notice how their ad takes up more real estate or kind of pops out more. That's the whole purpose behind these. You want them to be good quality and relevant, but really we're just making our ads pop. Structured snippet. Again, I recommend you set these up. They're just more ad copies. This one's more of like your service type. So you can choose the type you want to do. So like select header type. Shows if you're like a ticket or a concert. Neighborhoods if you want to say where you service. Services is one of these, like service catalog, and then I can say landscaping, leaf removal, pergola. Then I would save when I'm done. Same thing here, 3, 4, 5 is good enough to have. call. That's going to be super important. That's going to be your business phone number. Absolutely make sure you include that. Go ahead and click that plus button. Type in your phone number. So if that was my phone number, I would go ahead and paste that here. And then I would ensure call reporting is turned on. If it's not, it'll tell you and it will actually prompt you to accept the terms and conditions. Absolutely make sure your call extension is enabled, running, and synced through setting it up here. Otherwise, you're not going to get phone calls, right? Lead form, we talked about this earlier. We can skip over that. We're not going to be doing lead forms. Locations, this would be your Google business profile. I definitely recommend syncing this if you're a local service business. It allows your ads to serve in that map pack area, which would be something like this. It would show here. There's no ads here though right now, but if I just refreshed and searched again, it may pop up. Regardless, I definitely highly recommend it. Price, we can ignore. App, we can ignore. And then promotion would be if you have any limited promotions. Maybe it's a Black Friday sale you're pushing or $50 off for new customers. You go ahead and add that here. Choose the occasion if there is one. Is it a monetary discount, a percent discount? And then just kind of fill out the information here. Assets and extensions, absolutely include them. They really just take up a bunch of real estate on your campaign. That'd be perfect. You definitely want to include them. All right, so we've set up the ad groups, we've set up the keywords, you've set up all your assets and extensions. What's left? Obviously, we need to set up conversion tracking, but there's probably a couple quick things we can review or just cover. So I'm gonna go ahead and navigate to campaigns, and then I'm gonna go ahead and click settings because I wanna view my campaign settings and just kind of double check or confirm them to make sure everything is proper, right? We know we should not be running those two networks. That looks good. We have a budget set. That budget is good. Our location targeting, we already went ahead and reviewed that. We'll cover location exclusions here in just 1 minute. The bidding is set to maximize clicks. I did set a maximum bid limit. I could adjust that now that I've done some keyword research and I have an idea for what my keywords cost per click. But for now, it's fine. Additional settings will show us the other batch of settings. All of these we can leave as is. Perfect, that's exactly what I want. Let's go ahead and review our location targeting. Scroll down, and then underneath audiences, keywords, and content, we have locations. So we already know we properly set up our locations, but we want to add exclusions now because it's a tutorial. So let's go ahead and click location exclusions here at the upper left. Go ahead and click the blue pencil icon, and it works the exact same way as adding in locations you want to target, except this way it will exclude them. Now, because our location setting that we covered earlier is set to presence only, we don't need to go crazy and exclude every state that isn't the state you service. Is it beneficial? Maybe. I mean, maybe a tiny bit, but it's very rare that Google is now going to serve our ad to someone outside of our target area. But I will say, it's always better safe than sorry. So maybe exclude some surrounding states or some surrounding postal codes. But in this example, I'm going to say, what if I need to exclude something within my targeting, right? So let's say for whatever reason, there's a specific area I actually don't service. So like down here, I actually don't service Paradise Valley. So I could type in Paradise Valley and say, I want to exclude it. And then it's going to override that, right? And it would exclude it. Or I can do the same thing here, and I can just go ahead and click certain things and click exclude, right? So you'll see now these areas turn red that I'm excluding. So I'm telling Google to not serve my ads within these areas, right? Obviously, if you're targeting a much wider area, like a 30-mile radius, you're probably going to want to exclude some areas within them, right? If you service 20 miles around Dallas-Fort Worth, there's probably some postal codes, some neighborhoods, or just some areas that you don't want leads from or you just don't want to target and waste money on. For example, if you're a smaller business, you probably don't want to be targeting the heart of Dallas because it's going to be way more competitive. So maybe you exclude a couple postal codes or really that heart of Dallas. But that's how location exclusions work. It's exactly the same as targeting. The only difference is you're excluding them. If you made a mistake, you can go ahead and click directly here and include it or remove the selection altogether. Or you can just go ahead and click the X here and you'll see them disappear. And then just make sure you save once you're done. We already covered ad schedule, which is right underneath, but you can visually see how it looks here. So we can actually just kind of confirm that our ads are running at the proper time. There's nothing selected for Sunday because I don't want my ads to run on Sunday. Now, let's go ahead and cover some quick account and campaign level settings. Go to this recommendations tab here and go ahead and click one of these two icons. This will basically prompt a hidden feature that not a lot of people know about. I'm just gonna click table and now this pops up. Click auto apply. You want to ensure that these are all deselected. So you want it to say nothing, 0 of 0. So if yours looks like this, it's wrong. Make sure it looks like this. You should have none of these selected. Yes, there are a couple that are okay, but just for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to tell you to have none turned on unless you know what you're doing. Auto apply basically lets Google's algorithm or AI make changes, add keywords, add headlines, change your bidding strategy. It just does all this stuff that in our experience is horrible. Most of the time this wrecks accounts, so I want you to ensure that this is off. Now there's another iteration of this that I want you to also ensure is off. Go to assets, and then right here in this upper right corner is going to be this more button with a drop down. Click that, click account level automated assets, and do the exact same thing. You're going to click the more button once more, advanced settings this time, and then you'll be taking this screen here where is basically these things called dynamic assets, dynamic site links, dynamic callouts, dynamic structured snippets, and it lets Google read the URL you're sending traffic to and create its own assets and extensions. We don't want this. I've seen, it do stupid stuff like creating site links like blogs or we're hiring, right? Stuff like that. We don't want that. Obviously, we want to maintain as much control as we can. So go ahead and select each one of these and just turn it off. You can create whatever selection here. Just make sure you turn all of these off. Select a reason because it asks you to. Save it and just do it one by one. Ensure that you've turned off both account level automated assets and the auto apply recommendations I showed you here. Okay, we're 90% ready to go live here, but you absolutely should not launch your campaign until you have proper conversion tracking set up and verified. Let's go ahead and cover that now. On the left side to goals, conversions, summary. Now this will open up all of our conversion actions. Scroll down here to see what's already in the account. You may notice some auto-generated ones, like for example, lead form submit is automatically created. You may even have one that says calls from ads automatically created, but just to be triple sure, we're going to create 3 conversion actions as I'm a landscaper. I'm a lead gen. So there's 3 things I need to track. I need to track calls from websites, calls from my ad extension, and form fills. Let's set up our first one now. Let's click create conversion action. And we're going to be setting up phone calls to start. We're going to create calls from ads using call extensions or call only ads. This is going to allow us to track people who call that call asset or that call extension we just set up a couple minutes ago. Click continue. And this one's super easy. Give it a name. I call mine extension calls. We don't need to give it a value. Click don't use a value. Scroll down. We only want to count 1 as we don't need to count the same person calling multiple times as multiple conversions. Doesn't work that way. Call length. That's basically saying how long the call has to be for it to be equivalent to a conversion. You can set 1 second, you can set 60 seconds. I'll set something like 20 seconds and then click create and continue. And then go ahead and click done. For that one, there's no code installation required. But what we do want to make sure is we want to make sure that it's being used. So see how it says primary, but it's not used in any campaigns. Go to your settings here on the left side, make sure it's this conversion settings. See the call conversion action? That's different. This default call conversion action is different than the one we just created. Select that and change it to the one we just created. Click save. And then while you're in here, for enhanced conversions for leads, where it says not configured yet, click that drop down, click turn on, agree, and then just choose Google tag. We'll cover this here in a minute. Don't worry, there's nothing you need to do right now. Just go ahead and make sure that you update your call conversion action and that you enable enhanced conversions for leads. Not done yet. We still have 2 more goals to create. Let's go back to summary. Scroll down again and click create conversion action. This time we're going to set up a conversion goal for website calls, right? So there's people who call us directly through the ad extension, and then there's people who call us through the number on your actual website, meaning they clicked through your ad and then they click that call now button or that call to action. Make sure you select calls to a phone number on your website. We don't need to worry about number on your mobile website. That's for if you're using a different URL or a different number entirely on your desktop versus mobile website, which 99% of you probably aren't. So click the middle option, calls to a phone number on your website. Super simple here. We're going to give it a name. So I'll call this one website calls. Again, don't use a value. 1. And then here you would actually paste your phone number. So for 99% of you, the destination number is going to be the same as the display number. The only time this will be different is if you're using some sort of like fancy call routing or dynamic call swapping, which again, most of you don't need to worry about that. So just basically write the phone number that is hard coded onto your website twice. So just copy and paste it there and they should match. Same thing here. We're gonna write 20 seconds. You could do 60 seconds. You could do 1 second. That's all. Go ahead and click create and continue. And in this one, we are gonna have to install a tag. So click install the tag yourself, and there's gonna be 2 separate tags we install. We're gonna install this first tag in the header or the head of our website, site-wide. So if you have WordPress, Wix, Webflow, or any of that, they make it super simple. There's plugins for this as well. You're basically just gonna go and find your head section, and you're gonna paste this right there at the top. And then right below this, once you paste that into your site-wide head, you're gonna also copy and paste this directly underneath it. So this would go first, and then right underneath this would be this one. That's all. Make sure you save that and publish your website, and then come back here and click next. And done. There you go. So now we've set up extension calls and website calls. Now this one here says inactive, but as you see here, it can take up to 3 hours to actually verify. So don't worry if it says inactive, that's totally fine. Then last but not least, we're gonna set up form tracking. Go ahead, and for this one, we're gonna select website because we're tracking actions on our website. Now, because you've already installed the Google tag on your website, you can actually just paste your URL here, so like your website, and click scan, and it will actually make the conversion tracking a lot simpler. So just type your website and click scan, and then this should pop up here where you can actually go ahead and kind of quick create a conversion goal. If you don't see this, that's totally fine. You can do add a conversion action manually, and the setup here is going to be identical. So kind of follow this one along closely because some people can easily misconstrue this. For conversion goal, we're going to select submit lead form and make sure the event type is page load. The event type should not say form fill or form submission. The conversion goal is submit lead form, but the event type is page load. Now, what you're going to want to ensure is that you have some sort of thank you or confirmation page on your website, meaning when someone submits a form on your website, once they submit it, they should get redirected to a thank you page. So in my case, that would just be thank you. The URL they get redirected to is ppcpowerhouse.com/thank you. But before we do that, click see more settings because we're going to want to kind of refine it a little bit. Now you'll see here it says URL starts with. That's not right. We don't want that, right? The URL for a conversion goal is not going to just start with anything here. We want it to say URL contains, meaning as long as the URL the user lands on contains that thank you, we know they've landed on a thank you page and we can register it as a forms fill. So you want yours to be set up exactly like this. Make sure the event looks exactly like it looks here. Page load, URL contains, and then it would just contain the slug. So for some people, it's thank you, confirmation, thanks, thank, whatever it is, right? Just ensure you have that thank you or confirmation page set up, and then put the slug right there. So it would look like that. Scroll down, don't use a value. 1. You can leave all these settings as is, and then click done. Scroll down, and click agree and continue. Now you're done. You've properly set up conversion tracking. You can go ahead and skip through some of this. And now we're good. We've set up tracking for submit lead form. We've set up tracking for extension calls, and we've set up tracking for website calls. If you want, you can actually verify and test to make sure it's working. You would click this troubleshoot button here, and you would actually paste the URL of your thank you page. So you would click troubleshoot and then paste in www.website.com/thank you, and then it will actually test it and tell you if the conversion goal is working, meaning your tag is like connected and verified, and Google basically telling you to do everything right. I'm not going to do it because I didn't actually install the codes because it's a tutorial, but that's how you can verify it, or you can just check back in the next day or a couple hours later to see if this verifies. And that is pretty much it. That is the entirety of how you would go ahead and set up a campaign from scratch, A to Z, conversion tracking, keyword research, ad copy, and all that good stuff. But before we sign off, I do want to cover one last thing here, which is going to be crucial before you go live, and that is adding in negative keywords. Let's go ahead and find our keyword tab here. Go to search keywords, and then at the top, go ahead and select negative search keywords. This is where we can add negative keywords to basically tell Google, I do not want to serve for this. Click the blue plus button here, and this is where we add in negative keywords. It works the exact same way as adding in traditional keywords. But the difference here for negative is we're telling Google, I don't want to appear for this. So what I see a lot of people do wrong is they just type in the word. Those match types we covered earlier still apply here, meaning we don't want to do broad match. You can do phrase or exact match. I recommend what I call phrase match trigger negative, which basically is telling Google that as long as the search query or the search term being searched contains this word and phrase in quotations, your ad does not appear for it. So in terms of finding negative keywords, it really just comes down to thinking and utilizing tools like the search terms tool, which we'll cover in another video. But initially, you want to have some to make sure you don't show up for invalid things. So just kind of think to yourself, what are things people can search relating to what I'm advertising that is not relevant to what I want? For example, people looking for training, jobs, salary, cost, hiring, certification, right? So we would go ahead and negate that. So you can see here I populated some like hiring, jobs, Amazon, Walmart, DIY, certificate, reviews, stuff like that. Basically telling Google that if the search involves this query at all, or any of these, my ad should not appear for it. That way we're not going to waste money on irrelevant searches. Once that's done, go ahead and click save, and you're good. This is going to be one of those lists that you want to kind of add on to continuously, weekly, almost daily, depending on your niche and your business and your volume. That's where I'll go ahead and sign off, and we'll leave things there. Hopefully you guys have learned a lot from this video. If you have any specific concerns or questions, or you want me to dive into a specific section on Google Ads, campaign setups, optimizations, or whatever it is, let me know, and I'd be happy to make a video on it.